Okay, everyone, welcome back to the Black Carnivore live stream. We are here, and we're taking on a new format. So we're gonna do like a 30-minute Q&A, and you get the benefit of the perspective of a man and a woman who do carnivore. So give us your questions. Let us know what's on your mind. What are you concerned about? And let's chat about it for a bit. Okay. So let's see. Go ahead and say hi in the chat and put your questions in. What are you eating for dinner, Arian?
Uh, I guess this counts. Just a bunch of bacon. I already had.
Okay.
So I had two steaks today, but they were like smallish,
hmm
so I'm still hungry,
hmm
and I don't feel like having another steak. I think I'm good on protein, and I kind of just want more salt. So I think bacon would
hmm
be better for that. That's what my
Gotcha.
body is saying.
All right. Awesome. I've actually been experimenting with higher fat this week and trying to push my ketones higher. And
Mm,
that has been pretty fantastic. So I think that's something I'm going to do for a while. But for
okay.
me to do it, it's requiring quite a lot of fat, which is, more than I can get in my, my chuck chunks and stuff like that. So I am now like eating lard, eating bacon, the fat left over from bacon, eating tallow, eating it by the spoonful, butter too. And yeah, so, and surprisingly, I specifically or especially enjoy lard. Like the texture of it is so velvety and soft when it's at room temperature. So I was kind of like, huh, why was I thinking I didn't like this? Like, this is fine, actually. And I'm eating this like it's, peanut butter out of the jar with a spoon. So, yeah, so I don't know. And it is agreeing with my stomach. So I don't know. I think this might have been a sign that, I've been needing to bump up the fat. And yeah.
That's
hmm
awesome.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was gonna be my one concern is like, uh, how's your stomach feeling about all that? But if it's
Absolutely
fine,
fine. Not a problem. Although I also tried, so I bought ketone salts because I do feel like, there's supplements out there, there's things that people are using, and I feel that, I should kind of understand how they work and if raising your ketones is helpful, like maybe, adding some ketone salts would not be a bad idea. So I had a scoop yesterday and oh my God, that was horrible. That tore up my stomach. So
mm,
it was not good. Although I have been informed by one of our followers that I should have had it with more water, and you need to dilute it more. So I don't know.
so is there a difference between ketone salts? So I'm not familiar with ketone salts at all. At all.
Mhm.
I guess I should just ask this: what are they?
They are ketones, the BHB, the beta hydroxybutyrate. And
Oh,
I think they're bound to salt, which is why they're called ketone salts or various kinds of salts.
mm,
So they're bound to it, and that's how you consume it. What I have does not taste salty, although I think probably there are some that do. But what I have tastes incredibly, incredibly bitter and awful. So, yeah. But
mm.
um, there definitely is a benefit to having those ketones. Like my mind is so much like sharper. Like I can definitely feel like when my ketones are high, it feels really good. So I'm kind of like, I'm gonna have to sort of figure this out and kind of get a little more strategic about getting them higher. hmm
That makes sense. We definitely always hear about what increased ketones can do. Yeah, for mental health and all that. So then, the increased fat should do that too. It's going to be like you said, it's difficult to get enough fat though. Like you're basically probably eating that. Is it the PKD diet?
Hmm. Yes. Yes, that's exactly what's happening. And I think so I have to experiment with this, but I think I need to bring down how much protein I'm having in order to, to pump up the ketones. So I'm looking, I'm like testing my ketones a lot throughout the day and kind of, judging what I'm doing and how it's having an impact. So I notice when I have a bigger, amount of lean meat that slows down how high I can get my ketones.
Makes sense.
Yeah. So probably, so I don't know. I mean, I think that what I need to do is make sure that I'm getting a minimum of about 80 grams of protein and then, just kind of go from there. And I don't know if that means also including more fasting. I'm not sure how, that may also help with raising, the ketones. I don't know.
Okay. So
Yeah.
there's one good question that was one I was going to ask anyway. Why do you want higher ketones? What led to this change?
Well, it just kind of happened one day and I saw how different I felt. And then I was like, well, wait a minute, what is going on here? Because I told you guys how, now my ketones don't get high at all. Very often they're like low to like zero point 0.3 or, maybe zero point 0.5. And which, can be fine. But when I had them really high, like I felt different. And it was like, oh, yeah. Okay. And the other thing that I have talked about only briefly, I told you guys how I went for like a 24-hour MRI. So, I have epilepsy and I've been well controlled for 15 years on medication. And so my doctor and I kind of talked about coming off of medication. And I did the MRI so that I did a short one and then a 24-hour one to see if there's any seizure activity. And if there was, then it would be like a bad idea to come off the medication, but there wasn't. So, I still have like a 60 to 70% chance of not having any more seizures, but, you know, that still leaves a big, a big chunk on the other side of having more. So,
Right.
um, yeah. So I'm starting to think about like, is it like, I mean, obviously, well, maybe some of you know this, maybe some of you don't, that, one of the treatments for seizures before there were medications for it was a ketogenic diet.
Mhm.
Something about having those high ketones, seemed to help some kids with their seizures, but it's really only been studied in kids, not adults. And so, when I tried to talk to him, my doctor about it, he's just like, what? Stop! I don't understand what you're talking to me about. Stop talking to me about this.
But the
You know?
doctor's just like, no, no, no. We have medicine and we have not medicine. I don't know what the hell you're talking about. It's
Yeah,
scary. I don't want to
yeah,
talk about.
yeah. And I also noticed he had a mug in the corner of the office that said something like, "My degree from Harvard is better than your Google degree," or something like that. So it's like, okay, like he must be frustrated with people coming in saying, "I read
Right.
this." So
Like
yeah,
you don't buy that mug if you actually do agree with your patients going to Google
yes, exactly,
at the
exactly.
very least.
So so I'm like, starting to experiment with that and see, how I can keep that up and, see if that is something that I can maintain and if that would be helpful as well, because I don't want to have more seizures.
Right.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Okay.
um
So
so let's see, Pat
procedures and
Jake.
just in general, it feels
Yeah.
better when you have higher
Mhm.
ketones.
Mhm. And Pat Jacob says increased fat sustains my appetite between meals, but it stalls my weight loss. I can't have fat and lose weight. Hmm. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I mean, I definitely feel like I go longer without being hungry or feeling like I need to eat with more fat. So we'll see.
Yeah, I know when I have if I've out of your stuff, like if I roast chuck roast or especially
Mhm.
oxtails or short ribs, and I'm eating all the fat on those, then
Mhm.
I won't be hungry for a long time after.
Mhm. Yeah. Do you test your ketones? Do you know what they are?
I used to. I stopped because it got
Uh-huh.
boring. Like my blood sugar was
Uh-huh.
always good, somewhere under like 95, and then the ketones were always like yours, super low. And
Uh,
I've never noticed a change in my ketones. I didn't start testing until I had been carnivore for a while.
uh-huh. Wow. So your blood glucose is in the 90s. That's interesting.
Well, no, no, no. I'm giving you a ballpark because I don't remember what I last
Oh.
tested. I'd have to go get it and
Oh,
look
I
at its
see.
history.
Okay. Okay.
So I just know that it's definitely in a healthy range, but like where in that range, I couldn't tell you. I don't remember.
Gotcha. Yeah. Let's see. Mendel is asking about keeping your head warm. Well, you should answer that.
Well, so yeah, when I read that question first, I thought he was talking just like the one bald guy to another, but it sounds like he feels good everywhere else except because he said later it feels like his internal thermostat is off. The forehead right past his old hairline from decades ago wakes him up feeling cold and in pain when the room is fine. It's tolerable, but it's concerning. So my first guess would just be, yeah, wear more clothes. Um, However you're sleeping doesn't seem to be enough clothes, and we do. I don't know if this is actually true anymore, but at one point the story was that we lose like 40% of our body heat through our heads.
Hmm.
I imagine for a bald person, it's higher.
Hmm.
So maybe you just need to wear more clothes. But the part about it being in pain too, well, I guess I should say this: is that a thing that started when you were carnivore?
Hmm.
Um, because it could just be just straight up the temperature of the room. You think it
Hmm.
feels okay, and to most of your body it feels okay, but part of you is feeling super cold, which would mean that it's not okay, right?
Hmm.
Or it's at
Hmm.
least not okay for that body part. So I mean, it may sound crazy, but you can always sleep in a hat. Like when I used to
Hmm.
get sick, I would put a hat on and go to sleep that way, or pull the covers basically like up over my head to here, so that only my face was coming out. Because I need to be able to breathe freely. I can't breathe the air that
Yeah.
I've just breathed out, or I'm gonna feel like I'm suffocating. But other than that, like everything will be covered.
Yeah.
That's a real cozy way to sleep.
Yeah. I like a hat too when I sleep, when it's cold out. Let's see. And Zinga says she prefers brain octane oil. I do have some MCT oil, which I thought that it would be fine, but it actually kind of tastes like coconut, and I don't like that. So I use it, but I'm not going to buy it again.
Yeah,
And
and
then she's,
those aren't
mhm.
ketones.
What?
The MCT medium chain
Hmm.
triglycerides, those are not
Hmm.
ketones.
Yeah, they're not, but they give you that feeling because the fat that's in them can't, or the medium chain fatty acids can't be stored. So it's just like, you got energy running through you while you have them. Uh, okay, and then she's also curious about ketone esters. I think all of that stuff, whether it's ketone salts or esters, you just try them and you find the one that doesn't taste horrible and it doesn't upset your stomach.
Right.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
Juan says, so my ketones are good, but I have low blood sugars. Do you have any tips for this? I sometimes think if I should eat more protein. Well, how low is low? Because I don't, I mean, unless you're walking around in the 50s, I don't know that there's a problem.
Yeah. I would also wonder if you're worried about if you're just worried because your number is beyond a certain level that you're comfortable with, or do you actually feel low blood sugar? Like I would
Hmm.
look up the symptoms of hypoglycemia, and if you're not having any of those, your blood sugar is most likely fine.
Hmm. Yeah. I mean, when I notice when I fast, mine can get really low, and then that kind of scares me, and that's when I'll stop the fast. But as long as you're above 60, I think you're okay, and your ketones are high, you're okay.
Hmm.
Let's see. E. Taylor says, I've never tested my ketones and I've been keto for over 5 years. Yeah, you don't have to test
Yeah.
your ketones. Like, it's, if you're eating the right stuff and you're losing weight and you're feeling good, like, that's all you need to know, really.
Yeah, it's far from required, and for a lot of people, it's not. Um, they don't receive any benefit from it, or it just actually for some people it just freaks them out more.
Hmm. Yeah. Well, I do, I find it motivating and interesting to test these things. So that's why it's interesting for me. But the strips are expensive. So, this is not like a test that I'm going to continue on long term. Like,
Mm.
this is for, a little while. And I've actually probably got enough for like 2 more days of like a lot of testing. And then, it's kind of have to be it.
Yeah,
So,
especially if you're testing multiple times a day, that
mhm,
can go real fast.
yeah, yeah. And Zynga says the brain octane oil is flavorless and it's only the C8 MCT. Um, yeah, so I think that's what I actually have is the brain octane oil. Um, but as you will learn as you go on in your carnivore journey, your tongue becomes so perceptive. And so I just like the barest hint of flavor, like I can totally taste like it's a bomb gone off in my mouth. So if I were not carnivore, I would absolutely think that what I have is totally flavorless. But not being that or having gone this long, like I actually can taste a little the coconut flavor. So, yeah. Um
I'm imagining you tasting this like 0.1% of coconut flavor that nobody else would even, and you're
yes.
like, oh, get it away.
Yeah, that's exactly what's happening. Yes.
Um,
So it's only me. It's only me.
right.
Everyone else, you probably won't notice it. Um, so let's see. Juan says that his blood sugar is 55 to 67, and you don't feel shaky. Yeah, that's on the lower end, but what does your doctor say? That's probably a better question for your doctor. Um, and is it only that low while you're doing keto, or is it always that low?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, you don't feel shaky though. I My gut says pay attention, but relax.
Hmm.
If you can do both
Yeah.
of those at the same time.
Yeah. And Chris is interested in getting a CGM. Are you? Well, you've already said you don't like all that testing, so you're probably not.
I would get a CGM if one was offered to me. Like if there was an easy way for me to get one for free, I'd probably do it. Um,
Hmm.
I'm not about to pay the money for one, and I really don't have a
Hmm.
reason for a doctor to prescribe me one.
Yeah.
Um, and I will also say, as a person who generally doesn't like needles, the idea of having that thing stuck inside you and just always being there is
Hmm.
a little unnerving.
Hmm. Yeah. I'm afraid that I'm gonna like hit it against something and it's just gonna like dig in further into my arm. Like, yeah, even as I say it, yeah, that's exactly what
Yep,
I'm feeling.
yep.
So I don't know. I don't
Like
know.
someone's gonna slap me on my arm, or I'm gonna
Oh
bang into
God.
a wall for no reason.
Yes. Yes. And it's gonna be a spot that you would never hit or to be touched on any other time, but then like
Exactly,
20 times in a row.
exactly. Like just my freaking luck.
Uh, yeah. So E. Taylor says I have a coconut mental block. I think you're right. I think you're right.
Right.
Yeah. So Mandel, yes, this is the finger stick. So I'm checking my actual blood. So yeah, my fingertips are also starting to, just be kind of bruised and it's uncomfortable. So
Hmm.
yeah, this is not a long-term thing. But
Yeah.
but it is really interesting because I'm really just trying to get a sense of what it feels like and what my numbers are so that I can then, just pay attention to what it feels like and know what the numbers are.
That's smart. Because yeah, you don't want
Yeah.
to be doing this long term. the
Oh
check-in
yeah.
every day.
Yeah. Yeah. But I don't know. But I don't know if my body is like, no, no, this is not how we want to do this. And if it's like always going to fight against me to, bring it down. Because really, I mean, I don't know if this is exactly what's happening, but I would imagine like if all these ketones are floating around in my blood, they're kind of being wasted.
Hmm.
So it's kind of like, your body doesn't like to waste things. So I feel like if I pump it up, it's going to do things to counteract that. So I don't know. I don't know how long I would be able to keep my ketones elevated, but this is the experiment. But I feel like in the beginning, like when I first started, well, I don't know. I don't know. I mean,
I
I feel
mean,
like I definitely had days when I was early on in my keto journey, I had days where I was like 1.2, but I really never had very high ketones.
it's definitely it's an odd thing. I've seen a bunch of people say that your ketones will drop eventually. Like even
Hmm.
Atkins in his first book said that you'll start
Hmm.
off peeing a bunch of ketones and you can use the strips, but like as you get adapted, it's probably not going to stay that way.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that doesn't mean that you're not in ketosis. It just means you're not
Hmm.
in detectable ketosis. We don't
Yeah.
have a good way of detecting how many ketones you're using, just how many extra ones you have floating around.
Right. Exactly. But, maybe I can convince my body, my brain really needs these extras. So, let's keep them coming. I don't know.
That would be nice.
Um, yeah. So Hortense is saying, I've heard some keto people say as low as 35 blood sugar was okay for them while burning ketones. So I've never heard that. I've definitely heard people say if it gets into the 50s and lower, that's the time to break your fast. Mine has gone down to 48 or 46, I think was the lowest I saw, and I did not feel great. So, for me, that's definitely too low, but I don't know.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Real
So,
quick, you know, any skull cap, like
uh-huh.
I call them scullies, the knit hats that actually sit totally flush on your head. Um,
Mhm.
that's all I use,
Mhm.
unless it's summer.
Yeah. All right. So R Jones, I think that's Richie. Your ketones will drop because your body is using them.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So I don't know. Maybe I just need to make more and then the numbers are going to drop anyway because I'm using them, but I have more to use. I don't know.
Oh, that actually could be. Like,
Hmm.
what if you get to a point where you're eating more fat and your body is still creating more ketones from that fat, but it's better at using them. So your ketone levels are lower, but you feel the effects the same.
Yeah.
Your testable ketone levels are lower. That'd be cool.
Yeah. So we'll see. I mean, I'm going to keep trying this higher fat, thing. Now I know I'm like way behind because remember that, we didn't talk about fat and then or protein, and then there was this period where people on keto were bringing their protein down really low and their fat really high, and then
Mm.
there was the swing back to, increasing your protein. So I'm, now going backwards to lowering my protein and increasing my fat. I don't know. All I can say is you've got to experiment. You have to have some rigorous methods so that you can actually, test and quantify, what's happening with your body and then decide what feels best for you. So, in the short and in the long term. So that's all I can do right now.
Yeah, and it may
Yeah.
be that you do this for a time and it feels great, and then at some point later your body starts to feel like, no, we want to swing back towards protein.
Yes. I think that is such an important point to make. Our bodies are not static. And, particularly for women, there are constant, cyclical changes. So,
Yep.
what you need at any point in time in the menstrual cycle in that month is going to change. So, You need to, you kind of always have to be a little bit dynamic. And then, over your lifetime, what you need changes. The seasons will change, and the level of stress that you're under is going to also change what you need. So, you have to be responsive to that.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
And it's winter right now, so
I
I
know.
wonder.
Not enough
I
sunlight. It's been raining constantly.
I would be very interested to know um, how the diet of indigenous people living indigenously, living in the way that they did before industrialization, before Western society affected them, if their fat versus protein levels were different in summer versus winter.
I That is a great question. And let's leave it on that. So, we are, like I said, we're going to shorten these live streams, and I think that is a great question to leave it on. We should come back to it and and touch on next week.
All right.
All right, everybody. So I really enjoyed this, but let me know if you don't like the shorter format. Let me know, because we're going to be dynamic here, and we're going to work it out. So let me know whether you like it or not, and I'll see you guys next week. All right. Have a great one.
Bye.